Now, guys, if you've ever been going through Chicago, and especially if you're in kind of like a hot neighborhood, where there's a lot going on, you don't really want to hop out the car, you don't really want to stop any place, and you definitely don't want to pop into some alley to handle your business, but your bladder is starting to hurt. What do? You start looking for a McDonald's, right? Now, some people, they look for a Starbucks, but in certain parts of Chicago, you ain't going to find any Starbucks. Chipotle sometimes will hook you up with the combo, but in the high crime neighborhoods in Chicago, man, they're really not letting too many people in to use the bathroom, but the most reliable spot that you always got is McDonald's. Now, ladies, a lot of times don't have that alley option either. I don't recommend the alley option, really, too, because that's a good way to get smoked if somebody thinks you're trespassing on their property and trying to break in, creeping around the side of their house. Those gangways are kind of dangerous. Those definitely not somebody's house, but even somebody's business. And it's kind of risky, man. But McDonald's is a safe spot. Now, McDonald's, it might be safe as far as, permission to use the bathroom, whatever, but the problem with it, man, there's a lot of dudes who have the same idea as you. And they go into McDonald's, and a lot of stuff goes down at McDonald's, right? I mean, there's a lot of famous videos, social media videos, that I don't even need to mention in this video about stuff that's gone down in McDonald's. Shootings, fights, brawls, just all-out drama. As a kid, I can vividly recall going into the bathroom at McDonald's sometimes and seeing some real bullcrap going on in there that I can't even snitch on in this video. So there's a lot of people who go in there to take drugs, do a lot of stuff that they can't do in public. Guys that, for one reason or another might be homeless. And I'm not looking down on the homeless, because I've been homeless too. That's a situation that, especially in the winter in Chicago, I don't wish on anybody. But a lot of guys, when you're in that situation, you go into McDonald's to warm up, because McDonald's is one of the only places that'll let you do that. Well, this creates sometimes, like I said, drama in McDonald's, man. And the CEO of McDonald's is now speaking out about the McDonald's in Chicago. Now, I mentioned that one of the main restaurants over on State Street, one of their biggest restaurants in the city as far as business, not as far as like actual physical structure, but they had to close temporarily because of a shooting over there. There was just recently a sexual assault over at the McDonald's, another McDonald's downtown. I think it's I'm not sure which location exactly it was, but I know it's one of the bigger more traveled tourist spots in the downtown area, man. And apparently there was like some sexual assault over there, so it was just a lot of bad stuff. And the CEO is saying that he's having trouble recruiting people over there now, to the McDonald's in Chicago, period, just because of all the drama that's been going on there. We talk about food deserts. We talk about, poverty. Businesses don't want to come to certain neighborhoods, and a lot of times people in academia and in the media write that off as like these are just CEOs and businesses discriminating against poor people or discriminating against minorities. They're forgetting a lot of times the reason behind why these businesses stay away from certain areas, and forget that a lot of times they do try, but then they suffer these kinds of consequences, and then they have to leave. This is a two-way street, and businesses can be forced out too by the community that they enter. So CNN Business is reporting that the McDonald's CEO, his name is Chris. He's got this is a Polish guy, man. Shout out to all the Polskis, man. But these last names I can't pronounce them, man. He has big concerns, they're saying, about surging crime in Chicago, where the fast food giant is based, saying that it's impacting the company's restaurants and making it harder to recruit corporate talent. So he said crime is, quote, seeping into every corner of our city. And he's right, it's citywide, it's not just in certain areas, man. And he said that during a event at the Economic Club of Chicago on Wednesday. He said, everywhere I go, I'm confronted by the same question these days. What's going on in Chicago? While it may wound our civic, et cetera, he said there is general sense out there that our city is in crisis. So restaurants in the city are suffering, and he noted that there are about 400 of the chain's locations across Chicago. And he said, we have violent crime that's happening in our restaurants. We're seeing homelessness issues in our restaurants. We're having drug overdoses that are happening in our restaurants. He said, so we see in our restaurants every single day what's happening in society at large. So the mayor's office did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the CEO's remarks. Starbucks, too, has noted similar problems at some of its stores. Over this past summer, the coffee chain announced that it would close 16 locations in Seattle, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and Portland over safety concerns. They said, after careful consideration, we're closing some stores and locations that have experienced a high volume of challenging incidents to make it unsafe to continue to operate. And so, like the CEO of McDonald's, the Starbucks leader said that national and community dynamics tend to play out in their stores. So the McDonald's guy also said that the issue isn't just about conditions in stores; it's also about recruiting leaders to the company at the headquarters and convincing corporate workers to return to the office. He said, it's more difficult today for me to convince a promising McDonald's executive to relocate to Chicago from one of our other offices than it was just a few years ago. He said, it's more difficult for me to recruit a new employee to McDonald's to join us in Chicago than it was in the past. So he's not the first CEO to say this. There was the CEO of the head of Citadel, I forget his name. He was talking about this challenge too, and a lot of big corporations have been talking about potentially relocating and all the problems they've been having recruiting people here because people have been carjacked, like, right out in front of the headquarters of some of these places downtown. And some people that are, like, these are wealthy people that this is happening to. So, incidents that typically would affect certain neighborhoods in the city in the past have been affecting, like, the high-end areas. And you guys have been seeing this downtown a lot. So he said, it's also more difficult for me to convince an executive to relocate here. And when it comes to returning to the office, he said, one of the things that I can hear from our employees is that I'm not sure if it's safe to come downtown, and that's in quotations. So some of the other corporations to depart from the city include Boeing, Caterpillar, and Citadel, which all recently announced plans to relocate their headquarters. And he said that the mayors and governors from other cities and states have reached out to McDonald's to consider doing the same. But McDonald's remains committed to Chicago, which was its headquarters from 1955 to 1971, and again starting in 2018. So between 1971 and 2018, the company was based out of Oak Brook, which is a Chicago suburb. And McDonald's on Wednesday announced plans to open a new innovation facility at Chicago headquarters, relocating employees from its current innovation center in Romeoville, Illinois. Yeah, I can see, some of the problems that they've been having that they're going to have to address. And they got to address the safety of their employees and of the people in their restaurants. And if they're having to close restaurants now and then for shootings and things like that, because, a lot of teenagers tend to congregate in McDonald's. And like I said, people doing drug stuff, and it creates kind of a hazardous environment. So, they're a business. They're not a charity. You got to remember that. Their sole purpose is to make money. Their job, their mission is not to give back to the community. We got to remember that. Now they may do that, but that's not any company's mission. I know that's a hard statement to say, and it could be a hard statement to hear, but the purpose of businesses is not to give back. It's to make money, and that's it. And it's nice when they do that, but they're not expected or mandated to do that. So to stay in a place to to serve the community when they're losing money for them as far as their main mission, it doesn't make sense. We got to remember. So the community in the city has to do its part too, and treat them the way that we want them to treat us. Because I know the employees were talking about better wages and things of that nature, but they got to make money in order to do that. And obviously the people at the top, they're always going to make a lot of money, but that's because of the law of supply and demand. Where there's top corporate talent, there's going to be big offers as far as salary. And can the people that don't have those kinds of credentials meet that same demand? This is the laws of capitalism, man. So we see this playing out before our eyes now, and crime is a big deterrent here to a lot of businesses. So when the businesses leave, poverty increases, and then crime increases subsequently to that. So it kind of becomes something of a snowball effect. Everybody, when you see a report, I'm out.